Fancy fans, welcome back to Flights of Fancy. It's I, Sarah. And today I'll be introducing you to an extra special watercolor. I've gone back to some flat art, as I know many of you very much enjoy. Coloring things in watercolor has always been one of my more favored ways of coloring things in. You can have it be just as loose and watercolory and ephemeral as you like, and you can get really detailed, and it's just so much fun to shade, build up the color, you know. And there's of course challenges. A lot of people are a little intimidated by watercolor, but you just have to accept what's gonna happen and go with the flow, like literally the watercolor flow. Anyway, it's a ton of fun, and if you haven't guessed already, I'm drawing Eowyn from The Lord of the Rings, my very most favorite character from literature. But enough about that, let's get to the painting! Here I have my watercolor paper, which is 140 pounds, watercolor specific paper. You can get in a couple different finishes and brands, but make sure that it says watercolor on it so that the paper is nice and thick and it can accept a lot of water without getting too curly or messed up. But also make sure to tape it down to your work surface so that it doesn't start getting curly or escape from you. And I went ahead and did a pencil drawing first of my general drawing I want, and don't make it too detailed because you're going to be covering it with pigment and you won't be able to see very well underneath. So this is really more of an outline. I mixed up some colors for my background wash. I have my stormy volcano cloud black and my Rohan and scenery greens. Made sure to get that nice and thick, and then I took some thick salt, some chunky salt, and sprinkled that on my wet wash, and that's going to make some really poppy texture so that it's going to look like clouds and distant bushes and things like that. And while that was drying, I went and did her hair, and I was very accepting that her hair was going to bleed a little bit into the background, but that was purposeful because her hair's really like, you know, frizzy and stuff as it's blowing in the wind, so it's kind of melding into the background anyways. Did a very light wash for her skin tone, and while I'm doing these washes, the wash next to it isn't quite dry, so I leave a teensy white line, and then I can go back as I'm shading and so forth and either keep the line for effect or shade over it depending. And doing a little shading while it's wet, and then while that dries, I'm doing her tabard. If you're not super excited about drawing armor like me, for some reason I have never been super excited about drawing armor, just cover it with a tabard. It's like wearing a flag basically. It just shows your heraldry, so you don't fire arrows at the wrong person. Eowyn, of course, has a white running horse on a green field, but I'm zoomed in a little too much here to see the horse, so I didn't draw that in. Getting some details in her hair. It's getting drier, but not completely dry, so I can put in a few details without it bleeding all over the place. And likewise with her face, I can't get too detailed yet because it's not perfectly dry, but as it starts to dry you can add more and more precise details. And just keep as one area dries, draw on the other. Getting the edging on her leather armor here, and then I'll shade another area, do details on another area, and go back and forth, doing a little wrinkles here. That's always fun. just getting more and more detailed as the painting starts to dry. Also, a tip, go ahead and use a hair dryer if you need it to dry a little faster for you. I didn't do that, but that's a great idea. This is a little pin that keeps your tabard closed at the top, or whatever article of clothing you're wearing that needs a little holding together. It's a traditional sort of little pin. Okay, coming in for a little more shading. Shade here, shade there. And the face is finally dry enough. I can go in with her eye color. And I put a little dab of salt in the corner of her eye. I was hoping that would make her eye spark, but it didn't, so that's okay. I went back in with a white marker later to do her eye pop. Okay, just working on a few last details. Oh, the background. Have to draw Mount Doom in here. Do some dry brushing for the scenery. It makes it look really detailed, but it's just a few little dry brush strokes. Here are the billowing clouds that Mount Doom created to make the world dark for a while there. And there we have it. For some reason, I have not done an Eowyn cosplay yet, even though she's always been my favorite character. And I have a set of armor even, and it's not because, well, I mean, it's kind of because of the Lord of the Rings. I mean, who in the SCA doesn't love the Lord of the Rings? That's one of the main reasons for joining the SCA.